Thank you, Dr. Rautrai, and special thanks to Dr. Mahapatra for the kind invitation to speak on this very neglected but very important topic in hypertension, because there is always a hidden agenda about the sexual dysfunction in the mind of hypertensive patients, but never been discussed with his doctor, and also in the mind of physicians, which we never discuss with the patients. Sexual activity is of the great concern with the heart disease and the blood pressure. The mean increase in the blood pressure at orgasm is around 80 by 50 millimeter of mercury. Sex with a regular partner, the BP may go up to 150 to 180 systolic, but sex with other one or someone else, it may go up to 210 systolic. Coming to the sexual dysfunction and hypertension, regarding the male sexual dysfunction, the problems are related to libido, orgasm, ejaculation, and most often it is related to erectile erection. And this is the IIF, that is the International Index of the Erectile Function, for assessing the sexual function. Prevalence is around 52% according to the Massachusetts male aging study. Hypertension is an independent risk factor for erectile dysfunction, with a higher prevalence when it is associated with cardiovascular disease and chronic kidney disease. At least 1 in 2 men with hypertension, they develop erectile dysfunction. According to the NANS criteria or NANS study, the treated hypertensive have more prevalence of erectile dysfunction compared to untreated hypertension. And erectile dysfunction is also correlated well with the severity of hypertension. More the grade of hypertension, more the chances of erectile dysfunction. Coming to the other side of the coin, there is hypertension in patients who are having a primarily the sexual dysfunction, and the erectile dysfunction is an early marker of hypertension, as the onset of erectile dysfunction is detectable even before the onset of hypertension. Structural and functional alterations occurs earlier in erectile compared to the vascular tissue. And the reported prevalence of hypertension in patients with erectile dysfunction is around 41 to 44%. What about female sexual dysfunction in hypertension? High blood pressure also affects the sexual function in women, but it is not been understood. In one of the studies, the sexual dysfunction was found to be 42% of hypertensive women compared to 19% of the normotensive women, with an odds ratio of 3.2. What about the pathophysiology behind that? There are structural changes in the penile vasculature, change in the extracellular matrix morphology, functional alteration in the penile resistant arteries, and attenuated relaxation in response to nitric oxide due to increased oxidative stress. Hypertension is associated with significant reduction in the penile arterial inflow, and it is very well correlated with the grade of hypertension and also the duration of hypertension. And these are the morphological changes. What we see, there is an increase in the vascular smooth muscle cell proliferation, increase in the thickness of the cavernous smooth muscle, and increase in the collagen around the vessel. Endothelial dysfunction is the common pathway between hypertension and erectile dysfunction. There is evolving role of angiotensin 2 as a mediator of the erectile dysfunction. RAS activation in hypertensive patients with enhanced angiotensin 2 production is responsible for structural and functional changes in the penile vasculature. Increased angiotensin 2 also causes reduction in the nitric oxide production, leading to endothelial dysfunction and ultimately vascular hypertrophy. Overall, there is an imbalance among the nitric oxide, angiotensin 2, superoxide anion, and endothelin 1 responsible for erectile dysfunction. Coming to the hypertension treatment and erectile dysfunction, as you know, there are 6 classes of antihypertensive drugs, but these 2 classes, diuretics and beta blockers, are more responsible for erectile dysfunction. What are the possible mechanisms? So beta blockers, it reduces the testosterone level, inhibit beta 2 mediated peripheral vasodilatation, depresses the Leydig cell activity and anxiety, while the mechanism related to diuretics, the fluid depletion, electrolyte abnormalities, zinc depletion, and direct effect on the cavernous smooth muscles. How definitive is the thiazide association with erectile dysfunction? And thiazide-like diuretics are responsible for erectile dysfunction in 3 to 32% of the patients. And this is the TOMS study, which clearly showed the erectile dysfunction observed more with the chlorthalidone compared to other classes of antihypertensive drugs. How strongly are the beta blockers related to erectile dysfunction? And the studies clearly showed the non-selective beta blocker in carvedilol has an incidence around 13.5%, propranolol 5%, atenolol 3%, and with bisoprolol it is almost 0%. There is a psychogenic factor also contributes in the beta blocker associated erectile dysfunction, what is called the nocebo effect. In this particular study by Silvestri, there are three groups of the patients. All three groups received beta blockers. The first group don't know that it is a beta blocker and don't know also that it causes erectile dysfunction. The second group know that it is beta blocker but doesn't know that it causes erectile dysfunction. While third group know that it is beta blocker and also know that it is causes erectile dysfunction. And we have seen more erectile dysfunction in the third group who knows that it causes erectile dysfunction. What about newer beta blockers? Nebivolol reverses the endothelial dysfunction and erectile dysfunction through nitric oxide production, so it's a beneficial effect. And this is the Mr. Noed study where nebivolol compared with metoprolol, where metoprolol causes more erectile dysfunction while nebivolol in fact improves the erectile function. What about ARBs, angiotensin receptor blockers? Sexual function dysfunction in hypertensive patients treated with losartan, and it clearly showed an improvement in the erectile function and both satisfaction and frequency of sexual activity with losartan. Losartan also improves erectile dysfunction in diabetic patients, and valsartan appears to improve the sexual function in men and women with hypertension with improvement in the IIF score. And this is the brief meta-analysis of the randomized controlled trials, which clearly conclude that ARBs significantly improved sexual activity among participants in intervention group. So overall, when you look at the studies, the antihypertensive which actually improve the erectile function are ARBs, that is losartan and valsartan studies are there, and of course there's the newer beta blockers in the form of nebivolol. Can treating hypertension improve erectile dysfunction? There is a little evidence that treating hypertension will improve erectile dysfunction, although theoretically the vascular remodeling and the improvement in the smooth muscle cell function might enhance the erectile response, but there is no data. Animal data suggests that medical treatment of hypertension may have the potential to reduce the incidence of erectile dysfunction. Hypertension, when associated with sexual dysfunction, are responsible for more cardiovascular events. Erectile dysfunction can be a marker for cardiovascular disease, and this is what the statement by Norman Kaplan. If you have a problem in your erection, probably your heart is going in the wrong direction. And this is the data from the transient and the on-target studies. Erectile dysfunction is associated with a twofold increase in the risk of myocardial infarction and cardiac death in hypertensive men. And this is the Princeton 2 consensus panel, which clearly showed that the controlled hypertensive have a low risk of CV events, while uncontrolled hypertension have a high risk of CV events. And thus, a thorough cardiovascular investigation is advised in high risk patients. What about therapy? Management starts with lifestyle modification in the form of regular exercise, weight loss, and Mediterranean diet. Coming to the pharmacotherapy, and here comes the role of PDE5 inhibitors, and this is the reappraisal of the European guidelines, which clearly showed that after initiation of PDE5 inhibitors in these patients, they are more likely to take antihypertensive medications and BP control is improved. So overall, there is improvement in the adherence when you start PDE5 inhibitor therapy in hypertensive patients. So adherence to the antihypertensive therapy will be increased. Can PDE5 inhibitors be combined with the ARBs and nebivolol? And the study clearly showed that combining tadalafil with the losartan clearly improves the IIF EF5 score in these patients. And this is the combination with nebivolol, which also showed reversal of the erectile dysfunction in diabetic rates through enhancement of the nitric oxide cyclic GMP pathway. Now, problem in our setup that 25% of the men would wait as long as possible to see a doctor. And despite high prevalence of erectile dysfunction among the hypertensive men, it is not often matter of discussion during consultation with the general practitioner, which I already said in early. Sexual function knowledge by general practitioners and cardiologists is relevant and should be ideally assessed before starting therapy for hypertension. So take home points, hypertension is very well linked with erectile dysfunction. Both are the markers of endothelial dysfunction. Both are predictors of cardiovascular risk. Erectile dysfunction in patients with hypertension may not only negatively impact the ability of the patients to stay on antihypertensive therapy, but can also deteriorate the quality of life. Proper history of erectile dysfunction in hypertensive patients along with antihypertensive drugs is very important, as hypertension itself causes erectile dysfunction. So it is a common clinical mistake by the doctors and the patients to avoid medications fearing the side effects of erectile dysfunction. Thus, hypertension and sexual dysfunction, time to act now, always aim high. Thank you very much.